It's Thursday night, so of course that means it's time for Jungle Drums. We're a little bit later than usually scheduled this evening, and that was just, well, a combination of things. I was working on a project, which, as it turns out, I need to go back and rework on it a little bit more. And also, Sergeant J was working a little bit later this evening, and unfortunately, Gimboyd wasn't able to make this evening. He's just not quite up to it. So we wish him best wishes. Hopefully he'll be feeling better soon. Sergeant J, how was work, sir?
Boring as always.
See, you can't have it all, man. You can't have it all.
I can't. I wish I could, but apparently not the case.
Well, since it is just me and Sergeant J, we can get straight into things. We can get right into the meat. Now, obviously, we have talked about AMD a lot. I think every week we've always, at least somehow, mentioned AMD. And that's, again, not because we're fanboys. It's because the sheer excitement that surrounds AMD after years of hiding in the shadows and not really being relevant? How the hell did I get that word backwards?
It happens.
I guess so. You know, their video cards and their CPUs, they weren't in the limelight. But now they are. They've really been hitting back. So, even so, this isn't fresh news, as in, it didn't just happen today. I felt that we had to include it. So my source for this article is from WCCF Tech. And this is, of course, the official full specifications for the AMD Radeon RX Vega 64, RX 56, and also the Vega Nano. These are the slides with the full specs and pricing. So we've got some pictures here on this first, but as you can see, the Vega 64, which is a nice, very similar to when the RX 480 first came out. That kind of black plasticky look, which, whether you love it or hate it, it looks decent. But the limited edition, brushed aluminium, absolutely gorgeous. And then they've got a liquid-cooled version as well, which is quite nice. Quite nice. Some interesting news, though, is that from what I can see, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, is that right that the liquid-cooled version, we're not going to be able to buy it separately? We can only get it in one of these Radeon packs? Or have I misinterpreted this?
It looks like it. You have to get it in the pack.
Yeah, I mean, this is the way it looks like to me. So they're coming out with these Radeon packs that basically you buy said product and, so you buy one of these video cards and it gives you a voucher for $100 off a Ryzen 7 CPU motherboard combo. If you're in the States, then you get another $200 off one of their monitors, or a Samsung ultra-wide FreeSync monitor. So it's quite interesting the way that they're doing it. I have a feeling that you're still going to be able to buy the cards on their own as well, I think. But then again, when I'm looking at these specs, at least if I pull up this slide right here, as you can see at the bottom, we've got the RX Vega 56. Now, the RX Vega 56 is on par with an NVIDIA GTX 1070, and that's being priced at $399, which is fair enough. That's relatively reasonable. Hopefully, over here in the UK, we get a decent price as well. The Radeon RX Vega 64 is at $499, and that's going to be on par, maybe a bit better, maybe a bit worse, depending on application, with the GTX 1080. And for $500, that's significantly cheaper than what a 1080 was at launch. So that's a good deal. But as you can see in this image on the right, those are both the black versions. The only brushed aluminium ones seem to be in these packs. And it's not frustrating, but it's just like, okay, so wait a minute, I'm going to have to buy a pack in order to, I don't know. But that's the way it looks like. But Vega 10 is just, I mean, it looks great. Got, you know, obviously the graphics engine, 4 asynchronous compute engines, 4 next-gen geometry engines, 64 next-gen compute units, 4,096 stream processors, 256 texture units, 64 render backends, 4 megabytes of onboard level 2 cache, and I believe it's actually, I know it says here 2, but it should be... Oh, that's right, yeah. It's using HBM2 memory in 2 gigabyte clusters. I believe these cards come with 8 gigabytes of RAM, which you might be saying to yourself, oh, wait a minute. You can, you know, some of the NVIDIA cards, you can get more RAM than that, which is true. But we're talking about HBM2 memory, which the last time, I'm pretty sure... it was only the Fury line of cards that had HBM memory. Not HBM2, I think it was HBM. But HBM2 memory is a completely different kettle of fish to the GDDR5 that we're used to on video cards. The performance is supposed to be exceptional, no latency and whatnot. They're looking good. The liquid-cooled version is significantly higher clocked than the air-cooled. If I bring this up really quickly, if you can see here, the base clock speed on the 64s are 1247 megahertz with a boost of 1546, whereas the liquid-cooled is a 1406 base with a boost speed of 1677. Remember, that's out of the box. Whether or not you'll be able to overclock that even more will be something to see. But definitely, they're looking good. They are looking good. Again, we only have the US prices to go off, but they're looking a bit more affordable. They're not, I think if I'm honest, Jay, they're not as cheap as I was hoping for.
No.
But at the same time, come on, we're talking about a business, right? I mean, I think that is still, when you look at the price of, I mean, in fact, if we go right now, if I pull up Amazon in the States...
Jungle, sorry.
If I pull up Amazon in the States and put in a GTX 1080, let's see what kind of prices, if we can find any. Right, so I'm seeing, let's see, $500 for a gigabyte one, $620 for an EVGA, $640 for a MSI. So those prices have came down, but when you consider what they were at launch, I'm sure the 1080 was about $700 or $800 when it first came out. But for Vega to still be cheaper than a 1080, you know, even after the 1080's been out for quite a while, I think that's still a decent bargain. Again, we'll just have to see how that works for us over here. I'm assuming it's just going to have, they're going to change the dollar symbol with the pound symbol. That tends to be the case with most of these things.
It does indeed.
But we'll see. We'll see. It definitely looks like a good bit of kit. It looks like it might be quite power hungry. It might take up quite a bit of wattage, but we'll just have to see. Again, you know, these cards are just around the corner. I believe the August 14th is when they officially launch. You can already pre-order them at most retailers already. Who knows? There's maybe even a chance they might be sold out. I haven't actually looked myself because I'm not in the market. I don't need a new video card. I'm perfectly happy with the one I have for now. I think it'll do me still a couple of years. But yeah, you can already pre-order them, and they will launch on the 14th of August. So after the 14th is when hopefully we'll see some actual testing and benchmarking and whatnot.
Yep.
I mean, what about yourself, Jay? I mean, I know that you're kind of toying with the idea of trying to save up, you know, I know for like a processor and a motherboard, but what about in the video department? Because, I mean, you're running an SLI setup at the moment. So,
I am indeed.
So do you feel a need to get like a newer, you know, graphics card, or is that...
I don't feel the need to, but I probably would.
Yeah, well, yeah.
If I had the money, I was going to upgrade the system. I probably would look at an upgrade for it. Like I said, I do at some point want to look at toying with, depending what happens with this, toying with a AMD build at some point. So, but then as you said, looking at it, that liquid cool is only within the bundle.
That's a shame, but at the same time, I suppose if you're gonna get, you know, that bundle, then okay, if it's gonna save a bit of money in the long run. I mean, to be fair, a Ryzen 7 is overkill for gaming. I mean, a Ryzen 7 is great for streaming, YouTube, and all that kind of stuff. For gaming, though, and even a Ryzen 5 you can stream with. A Ryzen 5 is a hex core 12 thread, so I mean, you know, that will do for most people. But unfortunately, that bundle was specifically talking about Ryzen 7. I'm sure it was. Yes, yeah, discount on Ryzen 7 CPU. So that's a bit of a shame. I mean, don't get me wrong, that would be an awesome system. When you think of being able to team up an AMD processor with an AMD graphics card, you're going to get that full, you know, benefit of mantle drivers and whatnot. But you know, another thing that people overlook, Jay, you know how with the NVIDIA cards, they have that thing called G-Sync?
Yes.
As long as you have a G-Sync capable monitor. Right, that's the key thing. G-Sync only works if the monitor is G-Sync compatible. And what that does is it locks the refresh rate, like in the frames per second, perfectly. And that's great. That's an amazing combo. The problem with G-Sync monitors is, guess what? They're super duper expensive. Now, AMD has their version called FreeSync. And from what I've seen, FreeSync monitors are a hell of a lot more affordable. And so this is where Vega, again, the other value of it, you know, you might say to yourself, oh, look, I'm only saving $100 getting a Vega instead of a 1080. You know, why don't I just get a 1080? Yes, you're right. But when you factor in the price of the monitor as well to get the full experience, then Vega seems to make even more sense. But no, I mean, I'm the same. I would love to build an AMD system with, well, a Threadripper would be, you know, my preferred. Beautiful. But it's $1,000 for one of those, so maybe not. But, you know, I would love to have a Ryzen system with a Vega video card. It would be really, really nice. And guess what? Nice. We're going to be seeing these things soon because it's the same with Threadripper. Threadripper's almost here. The embargoes are starting to lift on all the medias. So just today, a whole realm of unboxings just flooded the internet. A couple of them actually cheated. They weren't supposed to show installation today, but a couple of them did. I think that embargo doesn't lift for another day or two. And then actual review, there's an embargo on the reviews. They can't post those just yet, but we'll see shortly.
It'd be good to actually see what they can come up with in terms of specs and everything, or just this sort of speculation and potentially be, and they say what they can, because you've got all these base clocks and these max clocks, but people are going to break those. People Absolutely. Are going to get. It'll be interesting to see what people can do and how stable they are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm extremely curious because historically, AMD graphic cards have always ran hotter than NVIDIA. They've always been a little bit more power hungry than NVIDIA cards. So I want to see those types of things. I want to see, because that's the problem. If an AMD card runs really hot, then as you know yourself, you're not going to get that much overhead for overclocking. Whereas the cooler you can keep it, the better. And honestly, if I admit to this, you know, I don't know enough about HBM2 memory to know how well it scales with overclocking. Because I have no first-hand experience. I've always just used, you know, your typical GDDR4 or GDDR5. But I'm not sure how that scales. But yeah, hopefully we'll get some news on that in the near future. But it does. It looks nice though. Those look nice. We can dream, Jay. We can dream.
We can dream.
Right, let's get off tech for a little bit and talk about some gaming, shall we? This next article I just sourced from Engadget, but hey, you know, it'll be everywhere. It's all over the internet. And that is about Overwatch. And Overwatch's Summer Games event is returning this year on August 8th. For those of you that don't know, basically what happened last year, Blizzard had introduced an event to tie in with the Summer Games in Rio. And this was a pretty cool little seasonal event that introduced a game mode called Lucio Ball, which I didn't experience firsthand, but from what I've been told, it was like Overwatch meets Rocket League. I don't know how apt that is, but that's the way I've heard it described. But anyway, it looked like it was a hell of a lot of fun. I believe there was over 100 different rewards available, whether that was skins or victory poses or tagging paints, all sorts of, cool personalizations. So basically, this year they're going to do another Summer Games event. Jeff Kaplan, the lead dev for Overwatch, said that, look, basically fans have just been hassling them all the time. Look, bring back the Summer Games. We loved it. We want it again. We want it again. So sure enough, Blizzard's saying, sure, okay, we'll do it. One nice little benefit, because you'll be the same, Jay, you would have missed out on this last year as well. What they're going to do is actually, for those of us that did miss out last year, in the loot boxes, there's going to randomly be items from last year's Summer Games as well, in addition to, the new stuff. So that's quite cool. So you
can also buy them as well, can't you? I think it says here.
Of course, it's Blizzard, of course.
So, if you don't want to take that chance.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're going to be able to buy... it should be noted that you can buy the loot boxes that only contain last year's items at a significantly cheaper price. So at least that's something. Paying less for the old stuff. But as you can imagine from Blizzard and Overwatch, a number of heroes are going to get their own legendary skins. Junkrat, Mercy, Widowmaker, they're going to all be getting Olympic-themed upgrades. Excuse me, just getting a sip of tea there. Blizzard have also said that for those fans of Lucio Ball, you're going to be glad to hear that the game mode itself is going to be a lot more prominent this time around. To basically give you more incentive to play, they've introduced competitive rankings for the game mode, and top players are going to be rewarded with special sprays. Matches are going to be held in the older Rio Stadium, the one that featured last year, as well as the new Sydney Arena, which is the city, of course, that hosted the Olympics back in 2000. One thing they did comment on was that Lucio has been tweaked slightly to make sure matches are a little bit more fair. This year, players are not going to be able to boop other members, members of the opposite team out of the way. Because I guess that was, again, we don't know, we didn't play this last year, but I think they're saying that's how people used to cheese goals. It was just like knocking folk out of the way. And then, oh my. But that's all we know at this point. Jeff Kaplan said that there's a number of surprises in store. So all we can do is wait until August 8th to check it out. Let me look at my calendar. When is the 8th? That's next Tuesday. Are
you thinking what I'm thinking?
Should we do Overwatch Tuesday instead of Super Siege Bros?
We could do.
Different. We can talk about it with the gang.
We all have it, so it's not a problem.
If not, we can always just do it on Friday or something.
Yep.
Next Friday. We'll see. But yeah,
we'll see.
Either way, Overwatch's Summer Games event returns on August 8th. Lucio Ball is back, and it's supposed to be a lot more fun than last time. So there you go. The more you know. Right, let's go back to a little bit of tech. And this is actually to do with Intel. I found this on a... Excuse me for a minute. We have to close my door.
I gathered that was like a sharp cough.
Sorry about that. No one was supposed to be downstairs. So
I gathered that was like a shut up cough when you turned and coughed.
Yeah, that was kind of the whole point of me having the door open. I could stay cool. No one was down here. But no. Invaded.
Now you'll turn into a sweating.
Exactly. So we're going to make this really, really quick. No, just kidding. Right, so this is actually from a website called The Motley Fool. www.fool.com. And this was to do with Intel. And the headline is that Intel Corp makes a disappointing decision. The sub-headline there is that the chip maker has left buyers of its relatively new Z270 desktop platform out in the cold when it comes to upgrades. Now, to put this into context for you, if you're not familiar with the different platforms, when the 6th gen had came out, you know, obviously that was a new platform and whatnot, blah, 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 blah. What the hell was the name of? Why can't I think of what the code name? I know that the 7th gen was Kaby Lake, but I can't.
Skylake, was it?
Yes, you're right. It was Skylake. Skylake was 6th gen, right? So you could get, you know, 6th gen, and the 6th gen processors were great. I've got a buddy of mine who has a 6th gen i7, and it's an absolute monster. That's the guy that had just bought a water-cooled 1080 Ti during the summer holidays. I'm sure that I shared a picture of it with you at some point. Maybe.
Like I just brought one as if it's like easy and cheap to buy.
No, to be fair, he saved up for quite a while.
I can imagine he probably did for something like that.
Well, he still has my old Radeon R9 280, which I'm actually need to get back off him, but he had messaged me saying, oh hey look, I don't need your card anymore because I bought this. It's like, Jesus, 800 quid. 800 quid. Anyway, I digress. Need to go mug him and take his video card. But anyway, so when the 6th gen came out, Skylake, great processors, and the chipset from Intel that went along with that was the Z170, okay? When the 7th gen of the Intel processors came out, codenamed Kaby Lake, one of the neatest features was they shared the same socket, okay? So the actual processor itself would fit in that old motherboard. So that was awesome, right? I mean, to be fair, if you had a top-of-the-line 6th gen i7, there was only a small percentage increase in performance to the 7th gen anyway. So, you know, most people probably wouldn't make that jump. But on the other hand, if you think about it this way, Jay, if you had a 6th gen i5, then you would have been able to buy a 7th gen i7. Now that would be, you know, a nice upgrade. But
very nice upgrade.
It'd be an awesome upgrade. But that was the coolest thing about the 6th and the 7th gen. They shared a socket. So if you had older hardware, you could then, you know, plop in a new processor. Now, of course, when they came out with the 7th gen, they did introduce a new chipset, and nowadays all they do is they add 100 to it. So instead of the Z170, the newer chipset was the Z270. So this was, you know, a nice new chipset, very similar to the 6th gen, but had a few improvements. And it was mainly aimed at people who were buying a new system. You know, because if you already had a 170, there was really no point. You could just put a new processor in. You wouldn't need to change out your mobile. But so anyway, that was quite a good setup. You know, that was several years of people not having necessarily buy a whole bunch of new equipment, blah, 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 blah. The problem moving forward is the upcoming 8th gen, which is nicknamed Coffee Lake. Coffee Lake, as you can imagine, is once again probably going to be just a minor incremental increase. But from what I've read, the 8th gen Coffee Lakes are going to have more cores as well. So there's going to be some fundamental differences. But the rumor is that Coffee Lake is going to use a completely different socket. So if you're an Intel, I won't use the word fanboy, if you're an Intel enthusiast and you always want to stay up to date with the newest tech, basically that 7th gen motherboard and processor you have, you're going to have to just throw it out the window or sell it, because the way it's looking right now, Coffee Lake is going to be a whole new platform, which, you know, if there's some fundamental changes like with core counts, you know, the thing is, when you look at the specs, allegedly the architecture is very similar, but the big difference is the manufacturing technology. They're using 14 nanomil plus on Coffee Lake, whereas for Kaby Lake it was only 14 nanomil plus, whatever the hell that means. Honestly, I don't know the difference between. I'm assuming they're just a little bit smaller. But then again, I don't know. They have to be the same diameter. I mean, the same width. They're both 14 nanomils. but one has a plus sign and the other has 2 plus signs. So there you go. But yeah, it's a real bummer for, you know, you DIY PC builders out there. You know, especially if you bought into the Z270 platform. Again, if you think about it, if you bought a Z170 years ago, you've got a pretty good amount of life out of that. You've done well. You've been able to go through 2 generations of processor. But if you just hopped on the Intel bandwagon with the 270, well, guess what? It's the end of the upgrade path. It's very similar to AMD with the FX series of chips, which was the FM2 Plus socket, I believe. Was it FM2 Plus? Yeah, FM2 Plus. Where they came out with that and then they kind of just abandoned it. There's no upgrade path. If you have an 8-core FX processor, that's as good as you can get. You can't put, you know, a better chip in. So it's a bit of a shame. You know, there's pros and cons. I mean, like any kind of engineering or marketing decision, but at the same time, let's be honest, they're probably going to lose a bit of sales because of that decision. There'll be some people who'll be like, well, wait a minute, if I have to buy an all-new motherboard and CPU combo, is it possible this is the perfect time to jump ship to AMD and get more bang for your buck? You know, I mean, what would you do, Jay? Say you're in that position. You want to upgrade, you want the newest and best, and you thought that you were going to be able to get the 8th gen processor in there. You spent however many hundred on a motherboard and all that, and now you get this news. Do you stay true to Intel and go, okay, it's fine they've made that decision, I love them anyway, and I'll now pay double what I was expecting to pay? Or do you say, you know what, screw you, I'm going over to the other side?
I don't really know I'd do in that position, to be honest, because if you got these Z270s, was it?
Yes. Yeah,
so if you got one of those, obviously you'd have recently brought into it, which is fair enough. I think part of me would just be settled with, I'll get my money out of it for a little bit, and then when I come to upgrade my system, I'll then look at whether I want to get the AMD or the 8th gen, because regardless of what you're going to do, you're going to have to spend the money, aren't you, to upgrade, because you're going to have to, either A, as you say, get these new chipset boards for the Coffee Lake, or you're going to have to go and buy out the AMD socketed motherboards with obviously your AMD processors. So it'd be a kind of sort of weighing up, having a look which one performs better, and as you say, obviously a big factor there would be what you're getting for your money, performance to money ratio. And again, how much of an upgrade would it be? Because if you're looking at people who haven't brought these new Z270 boards, then I expect they would have looked at depending what Kaby Lake processors they have with them and everything, but they're probably still be quite good. As you say, it wouldn't be too much of an upgrade in terms of potentially do that. So I'd probably wait if I was in that position, but then again, if it's somebody, you say, like an enthusiast who's brought into this hoping that they'll have the same repeat of what happened with the Z170s. Yeah, it's the 70s, isn't it? 170s.
Yeah. The 170 was the 6th and the 270 the 7th.
Then yeah, you'd be feeling a bit gutted, wouldn't you? So if Intel had done that before, you'd be thinking, why would they suddenly burn me and not do that again?
Unless maybe this new platform will also straddle. You know what I mean? Like maybe if you buy into the 8th gen, then when the 9th gen comes out, whenever, that'll just be a straight. So, you know, possibly, maybe. But
would people want to buy in though, taking that risk? Again,
well,
they've just been burnt by this one.
Yeah.
And this is a thing you got to look at: is would they? I would personally just ride it out for maybe a little bit longer, unless you really want to do it unless you're like one of these people that goes and breaks records, or you do really, really high tech stuff like streaming, modeling, all this sort of stuff that really would require it to really. You want thinking, oh, I want this upgrade. But again, if any of those sort of things, you're probably in the money to be able to do that. In all fairness,
true.
If you're like, if you want to use it for maybe an increased performance of streaming, then there's a good chance you're probably into streaming well enough to be making money from it. Again, if you're doing things like, say, programming or anything that requires that sort of power or modeling, again, you're probably in the sort of money. Unless you're not, in which case, again. A bit of a kick in the teeth, isn't it? If you've brought into one of these 270s and now suddenly you can't go down this upgrade path.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, we usually just kind of look at things from a gaming perspective, but when you look at, like, one of my classmates, prime example, and he does a lot of stuff with virtual machines. So, like, when I remember, like, when we looked at, I'm sure he has 64 gigs of RAM, in addition to his 6th gen i7. And you think, okay, that's just stupid, that's overkill. You don't need that for gaming. You don't need that for streaming. Shit, you don't even need that for making YouTube videos.
Yep.
But when you look at the stuff that he does, like coding, rendering, and the virtual machines specifically,
yeah,
that actually really comes into play. So I think you've got a very good point there, that, yeah, for most of us gamers and mild content creators, you know, it's not the end of the world. I mean, look at me, I'm still on a 4th gen i7. And I still think that this CPU will probably do me another, probably 2 years, I would think. So there's definitely no reason to absolutely rush into upgrades. But as you say, people that do require the best and the most up-to-date things, I think you're right. I think they might feel slightly burned by that move and would possibly be just a little hesitant to jump into the new platform.
Right, exactly.
So that's
again, as you say, probably something they'd probably look at and go, "I'll wait, hold this on for a year, see what's going to come out next, and see what's happening between the two competitors of AMD and Intel before you look at it." Because as you say, you're going to have to upgrade either way you look at it, aren't you? If you want to go to the Intel coffee, that you're going to have to upgrade to motherboard, and if you want to go to AMD, you're going to have to get an AMD chipset board anyway. So regardless of what's going to happen, you're going to have to get a new motherboard. Exactly.
Right, back in the world of gaming, this article comes from express.co.uk. Express is a the Daily Express, a newspaper over here in the UK. And this is about a Final Fantasy 15 multiplayer. The PS4 and Xbox One Comrades beta launch is coming soon. In fact, when I say soon, the date of that article was the 2nd, and the actual beta goes live the 3rd. So it should already be happening whilst you are watching this. The Final Fantasy 15... I got one of those ads just popped up. Final Fantasy 15 Comrades is being launched on the 3rd, and it'll run until the 8th. The multiplayer expansion's first initial phase of rollout is complete on PS4 and Xbox One, and the beta test should now be available to download. The eligibility requirements for the beta test were that you had to have the season pass and a subscription to either PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live. So as long as you had those things, you should have been invited. Needless to say, if you're a Final Fantasy 15 owner / player and you haven't been invited to, take part in the beta, well, guess what? You're probably not going to. You would have heard something already because it has started. The Comrades expansion is going to be tested simultaneously across all regions worldwide. You're going to be able to create your own custom avatars and join with up to 3 other people to participate in multiplayer quests. So basically, it is a limited beta. There's only a few characters you're going to be able to play. There's only going to be, I think, the base camp and a custom tutorial available, and there's only a handful of weapons that you're going to be able to choose from. But Final Fantasy 15 has been enjoyed by, I think it's safe to say, probably millions of people, if not, definitely hundreds of thousands. I mean, Final Fantasy is one of the most popular franchises out there, and Final Fantasy 15, by all accounts, is a magnificent game. So this new Comrades expansion that is coming out later on is, it's well looked forward to. All the hardcore Final Fantasy players are really looking forward to this expansion. An expansion... See, for the beta, it needs about 13 gigabytes of storage, which I imagine the full release will probably be a little bit more than that. That's quite interesting. I mean, because Final Fantasy 15 obviously was a single-player game. I mean, I don't have it. I don't think you have it either, do you, Jay?
No.
It was one that I had thought about. I mean, I've been so out of the Final Fantasy games for such a long time. I mean, I played them when I was younger. But I think once I got to about 7 or 8, I ended up doing other things. Yeah, other things as in like real life. I actually took a break from gaming. But everyone that I've seen that's played Final Fantasy 15 has absolutely loved it. But it was a single player experience. So this multiplayer aspect will definitely make it interesting. Because at the same time, I mean, they've got the multiplayer Final Fantasy game on its own, don't they? They have the MMO. So it's quite interesting that on their standalone, they're also kind of, you know, delving into those waters a little bit. I don't know if that's a good move, or I mean, I know it's unfair to compare an MMO to an RPG. They are two totally different experiences. But at the same time, you know, part of me thinks, well, look, if you wanted to play multiplayer in a Final Fantasy, then that's what you'd be doing. You wouldn't be doing it in 15, but what do I know? Obviously, I've been playing them for quite a while. But yeah, so there you go, the beta test. It's out. It's out already. It only runs till the 8th. If you haven't been invited, then guess what? You're probably not going to be. So
tough luck.
Exactly. But it does look quite cool, though. I will admit, looking at some of these... look at some of the pictures here. You develop avatars from using experience from defeating enemies. Yeah, and you can get, like, stuff. See, there's stuff. Yeah, see, and there's...
Everybody loves stuff.
And a base camp. Oh, and looking big, nasty monsters and stuff. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's cool. Right? I mean, it's got to be cool. It'll work. And fish. See? There's fish.
What more can you want in the game?
And cars. And cars. It's funny, the other day, actually... Not the other day, the other week, on Netflix, there was a Final Fantasy movie, Kingsglaive, which is the precursor to Final Fantasy 15. And I'd watched that, and it was actually really, really awesome. It was really, really good. Made me want to actually play the game, but we'll see. Maybe I'll pick up when it's on sale or something. Oh, my coasters. I've got these really cool coasters, and my cup seems to be sticking to them at the minute. It's not the coaster's fault, but my cup's fault, I think.
Somebody's fault.
Somebody's fault. Right. As you can see, we're kind of doing a flip and flop here. We're going gaming tech, trying to mix things up. So it's back to tech. This is from Engadget, and this is to do with Red. Now, if you don't know who Red is, hey, don't worry about it. It's not your fault, because Red is the hardcore video equipment producer, right? I mean, if I pull up, let me pull up their Red website right now.
When you say hardcore, you really do mean?
I mean
hard.
We mean hardcore, right? If I pull up this page, right, we've got Red, and if we go to their camera builder, so you go to their camera builder, and as you can see, so here's an image of a fully completed camera. And as you can see, there's a lot of things on here. There's a screen, there's a lens, this is called the brain. There's a control unit back here, and then this, and a battery pack, blah, blah. With Red, everything is bought separately. So if you want the Weapon 8K brain, which as you can see is a 35.4 megapixel video camera that shoots at 8K resolution at 60 frames per second, just the brain is $49,500. Right?
Pretty cheap.
Pretty cheap. So if we go to build, right? Oh, so what do you want? Oh, guess what? You need a mount. Just to put a lens on, you need to buy an adapter. So depending who you want to go with, oh, shall we buy a titanium Canon mount for $2,000? That's not the lens. That's just the adapter. And then you would have to buy your Canon lens as well. Oh, look, we've got a nice little base package. But anyway, they're expensive, but the quality is amazing. These things are ridiculous. You end up having to have, because of the way it deals with the footage, you need an actual PC, well, not even a PC, but like a server dedicated just to handling the video from them and editing them. If you've ever seen Linus Tech Tips, go check out that YouTube channel, and you'll see he does an unboxing of the Red equipment, and it's pretty crazy. But so that's a little outline of Red if you didn't know who they were. But this news from Engadget is to do with Red's upcoming $1,200 holographic phone, which is going to feature snap-on camera accessories. Now, we'll just take a quick look at some of these images so you can see the aesthetic of it. You know, it's got a nice kind of carbony look to it. It's hard to make out here, but you can see there's metal contacts at the bottom. But, you know, a nice little piece of kit. There's a YouTuber out there that got a hands-on experience. He was limited to what he could show. He wasn't able to show off the actual holographic display. Yeah, that's right. A holographic display that is going to actually have 3D. It's, that's going to be amazing. But aside from that, though, they're going to be selling, obviously, these attachments for it, which look really, really interesting. I mean, I myself, you know, I've got attachments for my iPhone, right? I don't have any lenses, but I've got an actual mini condenser microphone. I've got a nice bracket, you know, not a gimbal, but close enough. You know, a lot of people use these types of things, whether it's for streaming, whether it's for YouTubing. You know, a phone is a nice, easy way to be able to take footage. And nowadays, with all the apps, you can live stream to Twitch, to Mixer, to YouTube directly from your phone. So that's when this product really makes sense. A phone made by a high-end video equipment manufacturer, that is going to be a content creator's just wet dream, let's be honest. You're going to be able to get a phone that has obviously top-notch optics, probably really good microphones, you know, audio processors. It's going to be, I don't think, does it say the resolution, Jay? 4K? Yes. No, it doesn't say. It doesn't say what resolution that it's going to be able to take pictures and video in, but I would assume it'll be at least 4K. I would think. But either way, it looks amazing. Expensive, but amazing. Red claim, you know, that, hey, look, it's a smartphone, but where they're kind of aiming at, and it's this word they use is a prosumer, you know, instead of a consumer, that this prosumer setup is going to be the future of mobile footage. And when you look at the specs, well, the pictures and everything, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, if you were a journalist, if you're, you know, a big YouTuber, a big streamer or whatever, that just seems like an awesome piece of equipment. I mean, if you even think of the price of really good digital cameras, this phone is cheaper than that. So, like, Jay, you know how, like, there's a lot of folk out there on YouTube and streaming stuff, right, that instead of using a webcam, they use an SLR camera?
Yeah.
Right? And that's quite a pricey endeavor. But you'd be able to use that. Just think about it. You could actually use that as your camera and just have the video feed, like whether it's via RTMP or even maybe if they've got a cable for it, you know, that could be a secondary video source. Oh, the possibilities for this look really, really good. As long as the phone itself doesn't suck. And that's what I'm worried about. You know, I just wonder what kind of operating system it's going to have.
Thing which makes me wonder as well is obviously the handset is $1,200 is what they're sort of saying. But will they do it as you buy that, or will they have contracts for it? And if so, how much will contracts cost? That's
true. And will it be available in outside of the US?
Well, exactly this thing. Because you look at like current phones, how much are they?
Well, to be fair, I mean, to purchase outright, I mean, iPhones are better part of $1,000, are they not?
Well, the XZ Premium I've just recently got is about 600 quid or something like that. Let's have a look at what's the most recent iPhone. Is it the 8, isn't it?
No, the 8's not out yet, so it'll be like the 7S, 7 Plus.
Yeah, see, the F7 is about 579 quid, 600 quid,
okay.
7, 8. So you think, for something like that, 800 quid, 700 quid, you're looking at phone contracts are usually anywhere between 50 to 80 quid for those. Now, those are 800 quid phones. So, Something like a 12-1, you're going to be looking at over 100 quid.
True.
Contract.
If it's even available on contract.
Exactly. If it's even available on contract. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, hashtag welcome to the future, because if that works as a phone, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And that'll be one of those things which you pull out and go, like, here's my party trick. Look at what my phone can do.
Yeah. I mean,
just blow everybody's minds.
You know, I'm already impressed by, like, the video and image quality of modern smartphones. I mean, like, my iPhone, I mean, to be honest, it probably takes better video than what my Logitech C920 does. You know what I mean? Like, it's better image quality. And the thing...
You don't know, isn't it? All the attachments you can get for them as well.
Oh, I mean... Yeah, it does. It looks nice, but it's called the Hydrogen 1. Prototypes are going to be rolling out in the next month and a half. So I'll definitely be keeping my eye on, and hopefully we can update the story later on. What I really want to read more about is this whole holographic display.
Does this not almost cause concerns for you in one way, though? Because obviously, holographic and everything, it's a lot of people with what I would call what privacy looks at in terms of they're going to want to keep messages private, aren't they? They're not going to want to have this come up in some sort of display where it's easily visible by somebody.
True.
What people are watching, looking at, reading. I mean, it's a cool concept. Don't get me wrong on that at all, but how would they tackle something like that?
Well, see, I mean, this is the thing. There's no information on this, so I don't know how it's implemented. I don't know if it's a holographic display that gives you, like, you know how you can get the illusion of depth?
Yeah.
Like, have you ever seen those PC cases that have the infinity fronts?
I think so.
They've got, like, LEDs around the side, on the inside, and it's got tempered glass, but it looks like, actually, you're looking through a tunnel, and it goes on for infinity. So, it's possible to do something like that. So, I don't know if they mean, when they say holographic, if it's actually like you're peering in and it gives you the 3D effect.
Yeah.
Or if we're talking about, as you say, like an actual hologram coming out. And if it's a hologram coming out, how in the hell did they manage that without having to wear glasses? So I'm more inclined to think it's the other way.
Yeah, it probably would be in that case.
Going in. But as you say, you know, is it everything or is it only certain things? Because it's like you say, if you got a very intimate message and you're sitting next to your buddies, you know, you don't want to necessarily get your results from the sexual health clinic to pop up whilst you're at the pub with your mates, do you? I mean, you know, just saying. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Who knows? I have a feeling it's a depth. That seems to be the easiest way they could accomplish a hologram. And if that's the case, even that's cool as hell.
That'd be awesome.
Can you imagine that? Just like when you think about, you know how you can do when you're watching YouTube, if you've ever seen it on your phone, you can actually enable cardboard mode. So if you have a Google Cardboard, right?
Yeah.
Well, imagine if it's something like that where you put hologram mode on or whatever, and you can just look at your phone and pan around and I can't wait to see what it looks like.
Thing on your face.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it'd be good to keep an eye on it and see what progresses with it.
Because that's a problem. These current prototypes weren't completely functional, so we don't know anything. It's going to be another month or two before we actually get full details.
So stay tuned.
But when you look at even the finish of them, I mean, let me just pull that up again.
They do look really nice.
It just is sexy. They can't... Obviously, we're only seeing the backside because we're not allowed to see the front. We're not allowed to see that holographic screen. So, mystery. We shall see. Right, one last bit of news, and this is gaming, but it's also tech-oriented as well. And this is from the Business Insider. And this is about Sony. Yep, it's about Sony. We do talk about Sony here as well. We love everyone. We're not, we're not fanboys. But unfortunately, Sony is refusing to work with Microsoft on Minecraft. And that's a real shame for PS4 owners. To put this into context, whether you love it or hate it, Minecraft is one of the most popular and most played games in the world, right? We're not talking about in a country, or you're not talking about here. We're not talking about a platform specific. Worldwide, it is one of the most popular and most played games. That's a fact, right? That's not an opinion. That is just fact. What's opinion is why folk play it. I mean, okay, it is. It's really, really quite good. And it's available on everything, right? If you've got an iPad, an iPhone, an Android device, an Xbox One, an Xbox 360, a PlayStation, I'm sure it was on PS3, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was on PS3.
Might have been, yeah.
Definitely on PS4. PC, tablet, Windows Mobile. I mean, it's on so many devices. I mean, that's why they've got market penetration. Plus, it's also, it's pretty fun for most people. Well, the big Minecraft news for this year is that Microsoft, who owns, Minecraft now, they had bought out from, was it not Mojang who had developed Minecraft, I believe?
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Mojang. Mojang. But anyway, there's a huge update coming to Minecraft, and that is they're going to unify all versions of the game. If you're on an iPhone, you can team up with a friend on an Xbox One and make a world together. Or likewise, say you're playing it in VR, you've got an Oculus Rift, and you're playing Minecraft, and you could be playing with your buddy on Nintendo Switch. Yeah, that's right, Nintendo Switch is getting Minecraft, right? So that's what's coming up, it's already on the Wii U, so, it makes sense. Yeah, Minecraft's already out on the Wii U. I'm sure it is. Do I need to fact check that? Let me just double check. Yes, okay. I wasn't sure for a second there, but yeah. But anyway, so this is a huge deal. Every single platform is going to be able to play with each other, except for PlayStation. Sony has flat out refused to work with Microsoft on this. They said, no, we're not going to do it. Allegedly, they're still in discussions, but it looks like Sony just isn't quite interested, which is really a shame, and it's really quite strange. Especially when you consider how Nintendo is notorious for not working with other, hardware companies. They very much stay to themselves. They're xenophobic in that regard. But yet for Minecraft, they said, well, absolutely, we'll work with you, because why wouldn't they? Who doesn't like money? And that raises the question of, what is Sony thinking? Can you think of any good reasons, Jay, why that they have to not?
I can't think of any at all.
I mean,
it's almost. I understand, obviously, competitors and all this lot, but it's almost a big middle finger to the, I would say, Sony fan base as such. The fact that they can't play with their mates on Minecraft if they wanted to. I mean, that's pretty cool. I've got, just using different games, for example, things like FIFA and stuff on Xbox. I've got a mate that's got on PlayStation, and just the thought of being able to play that cross-platform would be amazing. So something like Minecraft, Sony have basically just given everybody the big middle finger.
Yeah, I mean,
as far as I'm concerned,
it's weird. I mean, obviously the PS4 folk, they'll be able to still play with other PS4 friends, but yeah, it's a bit strange. I mean, it's, part of me thinks it's almost as if Sony believes that their fan base, their loyal customers, would complain or they'd be unhappy with the move, like as if there's some kind of brand loyalty that they feel they have to, uphold. No, we can't. We're not allowed to. It's making me think of remember the Underworld films when the vampire and a werewolf get together and create an abomination. It's kind of like that. What the hell is this? Oh no, we can't play with other platforms because it would be the unthinkable. Thou shall not be spoken of, the abomination cross-platform play. Which, this is nothing new. We've got the same issue with Rocket League, don't we?
Yep.
PC can play with PS4, PC can play with Xbox, PS4 and Xbox can't play with each other, if I understand the way it works on Rocket League correctly.
I believe that is the case. But I know I was an Xbox user, I can play with PCs players. I'm pretty sure PlayStation might be the same on that one.
But it's...
I think it is actually, because I own it on the PlayStation as well. I'm pretty sure I played against PC players.
It's a bit strange, especially when you look at... I mean, it appears that Microsoft, you know, they're kind of offering up an olive branch, saying, look, you know, we're just... You know, hey, why not? But at the same time, who knows? Is it a case of, are these companies having to pay Microsoft a little bit of money to, you know, is it really down to business? Is it down to the things that we, the public, don't know about that would maybe leave a bad taste in Sony's mouth? Having to pay Microsoft a fee for cross-plat. I can understand then if it's something like that. You know, I could get it, but again, at the same time, Nintendo is doing it. So,
look, just looking at it from a, it's like almost consumer's point of view, fan point of view, whatever. It really is, to say a big little thing. I mean, like you look at, I don't know if this is the case. I don't really play Minecraft, but there could be, it's probably forums for it. It's probably obviously I expect there's a Reddit page for it and stuff, but there's this whole entire thing now where people can go, oh, I'm looking for. I'm an Xbox player, I'm looking for X people to come do this for me. And then non-Xbox players are like, oh, well, that seems really cool, but I can't join. Whereas now, it's like, oh, I got on the Switch. That looks really cool. I can join. That's pretty cool for the fans and everything. And for people not necessarily feeling left out on cool projects and things like that. But then you've got PlayStation users who are like, oh, I still can't join. And yeah, you say it's got to be a reason for Sony. I don't believe Sony would have just done it for a big FU to Microsoft or anything.
Yeah, no, there's got to be
some.
There's got to be a business thing, or maybe a case of it would have meant. Maybe it would actually mean. And I never thought about this before, Jay, but like when it comes to like networking and whatnot, like hardware networking, if that would mean that Sony would have to reveal to Microsoft how certain things work that maybe they keep to themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it maybe something like that? Because otherwise it just seems like they're shooting themselves in the foot. Like, hey, we're Sony, we don't like money. And we know that's not true. They love money. They've made a shit ton of it, right? I mean, they've got some great games. They've got some great exclusive games. And maybe that's the key thing here, is that maybe they're really more hyped up or excited about their exclusives. They know that their exclusive games is what has made them really, really succeed.
Have they?
And
have they potentially looked at how many users play Minecraft on PlayStation?
66. It was like 60 million? I think 60 something million.
Do they, as you say, do they not see Minecraft as one of their money-making scheme selling points? Do they, as you say, see it as their exclusives, their other games?
I just don't know.
And that's why they've gone, we don't need you, sort of.
I don't know if maybe even that's a sour thing for them, since obviously now Microsoft owns Minecraft, which I have a feeling when Minecraft was on the PS3, it wasn't owned by Microsoft at that time. You know what I mean? So I think now, subsequently, now that it's been bought, maybe that even in itself is kind of a sour taste for Sony. That, oh, wait a minute. You know, because how does it work? I mean, I'm not sure what the percentages are for a game, how much of a game Sony, the platform, gets compared to the devs, and, you know, I'm sure it's just a flat rate license fee, isn't it? Or something. I don't know. It's complicated.
It's that's something we can just work out in a you
know. But I mean, I think that's the key thing. We're not slagging off Sony. We're not saying Sony's stupid. We're not Microsoft fanboys. It's just this decision, this business decision, which, when you read the article, it kind of makes you think, oh, wait a minute, oh, that's stupid, that's horrible. But even through just this discussion that Jay and myself are having, you know, it has changed things, actually. I can say that honestly. For me, it's made me think a little bit more about it, going, oh, wait a minute. It is more complicated than what it looks, isn't it? It's not just a case of, nah, screw you guys, we don't want cross-platform. Maybe there's a lot of things behind the scenes when it comes to licensing and information. Who knows?
The other thing you've got to look at from this as well is it's almost an insight into, will Sony ever actually do anything cross-platform? Because if Sony would have said yes to this, like you've had Nintendo Switch say yes to the Xbox One, does that open up the realms? It's very unlikely, to be fair, but does it open the realms of possibility of other cross-platforms? Does it open this up, and then does that just close Sony out completely? Do you think Sony will never do this?
The thing is, I mean, nowadays, when you look at technologies, it's so easy. Like, if you just look at mobile phones and apps, right, and they've got a thing called a wrapper, where you make the code for an app, and then you've got this wrapper that allows that app to operate on any system. Whether it's an Apple system, whether it's an Android, whether it was a Windows, that was the point of a wrapper. And games are very much, they're not exactly like that, but nowadays technology is so similar. Let's be honest, a PS4 and an Xbox One are just computers, right, with very specific operating systems. So as far as writing code to allow different platforms to talk to each other isn't as complicated as you would think. It's just a case of this whole translation. You know, maybe a PlayStation speaks French and an Xbox speaks German. You just have to make sure there's an interface that translates each, to a common ground. And that's how these types of things can work when it comes to games. Yeah, it requires work, it requires effort, and it's a lot of trial and error. They're not going to be perfect. But when you look at how cross-platform has succeeded so far, between games where you can play on Xbox and PC. Now, okay, let's be fair, the Xbox One operating system is effectively Windows 10, just heavily modified. But look at Gears of War 4.
Yeah.
Gears of War 4 you can play together. I think Forza Horizon 3, I think you can multiplayer. I could be wrong, but I think you can play with your friends' PC, and so it's definitely possible. And yeah, the PS4 is different operating system, but still, it's not a fundamentally different machine. It's still got similar insides. So I don't know. I don't know why they don't do it
I've just
more.
found an article because I was wondering, because I'm pretty sure at one point Sony decided not to go cross-platform with Rocket League as well, because I know there was some kind of talk about that.
Yeah. This
is an old article. This is from Eurogamer back in June 2017, so recent. But what was it saying here? Jim Ryan said it's certainly not a profound philosophical stance we have against this. We've done it in the past. We've always opened to conversations with any developer or publisher who wants to talk about it. Unfortunately, it's a commercial discussion between ourselves and other stakeholders, and I'm not going to get into the detail of that on this particular instance.
Yeah.
Because I think reading this as well, looks like Rocket League's coming to Nintendo Switch, and it looks like it is going to be cross-platform with Xbox and Steam again.
See, I think, it comes back to what we were saying there. There's all these decisions, and we tend to think of just a game dev's a game dev, but when you look at Sony is a board of directors.
Exactly.
Sony is stakeholders, investors. I mean, you're absolutely right. It isn't just one guy making a decision or a gal making a decision. It's like with Bungie discussing Destiny 2 and about cross-platform. The ability to transfer characters. And they said, yeah, that's something they want, and they've been discussing it. But as you can probably imagine, Bungie isn't the one that's holding back on that. It'll be, again, well, based off some of the stuff that we're hearing about and reading about, I can pretty much imagine who the roadblock is. But hey, could be wrong. Could be wrong.
Could be wrong.
Could be wrong. Well, anywho, that is us out of news. If you were watching live on Mixer, thank you so much. Remember, Jungle Drums is filmed every Thursday, usually at 9 PM UK time. 8 p.m. No, 9. Yeah, 9. I even forgot because we didn't do it at the regular time today. It's actually thrown me off. But yes, usually 9 p.m. UK time. Obviously, we had a bit later this evening, but hey, it's no biggie. We're flexible. The week before, was it the week before that? We did it super early. Because of reasons. But yes, it is filmed live. But don't worry if you missed it live, because you can always catch it on YouTube. And of course, at the wonderful website www.scholarlygamers.com, your source for articles with an analytical approach, tech news and gaming news that's just a little class above. We've also got more video content coming your way. In addition to Jungle Drums, my good friend, the Unbearable Gamer, does armchair gaming. He's a philosophy major, and some of the stuff is just it's wonderful so far. There's only been 2 episodes, but there is more to come, and it's looking great. And there's another video series that I'm working on, specifically for Scholarly Gamers, and that should be up in the near future as well. Well, the first prologue of it. Not the first episode, but I'm starting off with a prologue. But that should be up relatively soon. But you can always check us out every day at scholarlygamers.com. There's at least one article Monday through Friday. Weekends, technically nothing goes up, but that's when there's video content on the weekend to hold you over. But anyway, always a pleasure, folks. Thanks for watching. Make sure to share if you can. Jay, as always, it's a pleasure, sir. Absolute pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
And we shall catch you again next week. So take it easy.